You look thirsty. Let me help with that. Max Sterling's cruel grin widened as he tilted the bottle of $5,000 Bordeaux over Queen Morrison's head. The 15-year-old's smirk deepened as crimson wine cascaded down her face, soaking into her ivory silk gown while 500 guests gasped. Harrison Sterling laughed like his son had performed a magic trick. "That's my boy," he boomed, raising his phone to film. Victoria joined in, her voice dripping with mock concern. "Now she fits in with the help," she called out, zooming in for a close-up. Queen stood perfectly still, wine dripped from her chin onto Italian marble, and none of them understood they had just humiliated the one woman with the power to destroy their billion-dollar empire with a single sentence. Before we continue, comment where you're watching from and make sure to subscribe, because what happens next will restore your faith in justice. The Sterling Foundation Gala glittered like a scene from old money royalty. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light across marble floors, where tech industry titans mingled in designer evening wear. Queen Morrison made her entrance in an ivory silk gown that caught every eye, not just for its elegance, but because she was the evening's guest of honor. At 38, she moved with the quiet confidence that had become her trademark in the business world. Her natural hair was styled professionally, diamond studs catching the light as she acknowledged scattered applause with a practiced smile. She'd built Apex Innovations from a garage startup into a sustainable luxury tech powerhouse. And tonight was meant to celebrate that achievement. "Ms. Morrison." Several business associates stepped forward to greet her, but before she could respond, a disturbance rippled through the crowd. Max Sterling shouldered his way through the gathered guests, vintage Bordeaux in hand. His prep school blazer hung perfectly tailored, his smirk practiced. A calculated display of teenage arrogance that came from 4 generations of billion-dollar wealth. His parents, Harrison and Victoria, flanked him at a distance, phones already raised. "You look thirsty," Max announced, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. "Let me help with that." Queen Morrison had learned long ago that entering rooms full of old money required a particular kind of armor. Tonight, the Sterling Foundation Centennial Gala demanded ivory silk Givenchy and the practiced smile she'd perfected somewhere between her mother's third-shift factory job and the MIT scholarship that changed everything. The ballroom glittered with Connecticut wealth, the kind that came with trust funds and legacy admissions, not 70-hour work weeks and student loans finally paid off at 42. "Ms. Morrison, thank you for joining us." The event coordinator gestured toward the stage where Queen would announce the partnership that had consumed 18 months of negotiations, $650 million, a deal that would catapult Apex Innovations' sustainable luxury technology into markets she'd only dreamed of accessing. Sterling Global's distribution network, her innovation, perfect synergy on paper. She was halfway to the stage when the boy approached, 15, maybe 16, prep school blazer, that particular smirk wealthy white teenagers wore like an inheritance. He carried a bottle of 1982 Chateau Margaux. She recognized the label, had served enough of it at investor dinners. "You look thirsty," Max Sterling said, loud enough for his friends' phones to capture. "Let me help with that." The wine was cold against her scalp, shockingly so. It cascaded down her face, her neck, soaked through $10,000 of couture. Laughter erupted, Harrison Sterling's booming guffaw, Victoria's delighted shriek as she filmed, the prep school boys howling. "Now she fits in with the help," Victoria called out. Queen stood perfectly still. She'd faced down venture capitalists who'd called her aggressive for the same negotiating tactics they praised in white men. She'd smiled through board meetings where colleagues touched her hair without asking. This was just another room, just another test. Wine droplets fell from her chin onto Italian marble. 500 guests held their breath. Max offered a napkin, grinning. "What's wrong? Can't take a joke?" "Thank you," Queen said, her voice carrying in the sudden silence. "You've just clarified my final decision." She walked to the stage, each step deliberate, wine trailing behind her like evidence. Under the spotlights, every stain became testimony. She took the microphone with steady hands. "Good evening. Recent events require a different message than I prepared." Harrison's champagne glass paused halfway to his lips. Effective immediately, Apex Innovations is terminating all negotiations regarding the proposed $650 million strategic partnership with Sterling Global Enterprises. The ballroom erupted. Our company values include integrity, respect, and dignity for all, Queen continued, her voice cutting through the chaos. Tonight has made it abundantly clear that this alignment does not exist. Victoria's phone lowered slowly. As Mr. Sterling told me earlier, boys will be boys and companies will be companies. We all make our choices and live with the consequences. Queen let that hang in the air. I choose to walk away from toxicity, no matter how profitable the alternative. Outside, her phone exploded with notifications. The video already had 50,000 views. The number climbed as she watched. 60,000, 75, 100. CEO cancels $650 deal after racist assault, read the breaking news alert. Queen's reflection in the car window showed wine-stained silk and perfect posture. Her mother had worked 3 jobs, so Queen could have choices. Tonight, she'd made one. The car pulled away from the gala, and Devin Park slid into the seat beside her, tablet already glowing in his hands. Queen's PR director had the kind of loyalty that came from surviving corporate battlefields together. 3 years of navigating hostile investors and skeptical media had forged something closer to family than friendship. 50,000 views and climbing, Devin said, his voice tight with controlled urgency. He turned the screen toward her. Comments flooded past faster than either could read. Disgusting behavior from that entitled brat. She's a queen for how she handled that. Time to investigate the Sterling's history with employees of color. Queen watched the numbers tick upward. 60,000, 75. The clip of her canceling the deal was trending faster than the wine incident itself. CNN, MSNBC, Fox, all running the story with breaking news banners. They entered her building through the private garage where paparazzi were already gathering like wolves. Security had doubled, their presence a silent acknowledgement that everything had changed. In the elevator, Devin's phone buzzed with alerts. Sterling stock is dropping in Asian markets. Harrison's already spinning it as an overreaction to a harmless teenage prank. Nobody's buying it, Queen said quietly. The video spoke for itself. Her penthouse felt different tonight. For the first time in hours, she let her shoulders drop slightly, the weight of performance finally lifting. Devin settled into the living room, monitoring the real-time fallout, while Queen disappeared into the bathroom. The shower ran hot, wine swirling pink down the drain. She watched it wash away, knowing the memory wouldn't follow as easily. When she emerged in a silk robe, her phone was buzzing relentlessly. Board members, colleagues, journalists, all wanting pieces of her she didn't have energy to give. She silenced it. Devin looked up from his tablet. Harrison won't take this lying down. Prepare for war. Queen nodded, her mind already mapping strategies, identifying vulnerabilities, calculating moves 3 steps ahead. This wasn't her first corporate battle. It wouldn't be her last. At 11:47 p.m., an encrypted message appeared on her phone from an unknown number. Ms. Morrison, my name is Margaret Chen. I worked for the Sterling family for 25 years as their estate manager. What happened to you tonight was not an isolated incident. I have documents, recordings, and evidence of things they've done that would destroy them completely. Things they've paid millions to keep hidden. I'm ready to share everything. Please meet with me. It's time someone finally held them accountable. Queen read it twice. The language was precise, formal, not a crank. Her instincts, honed through years of corporate warfare, of distinguishing genuine threats from empty ones, confirmed it. She typed, "Tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., my office at Apex Tower. Tell security you're here for a private meeting with me." The response came immediately. "I'll be there. Thank you for standing up to them tonight. You're not alone in this fight anymore." Queen placed the phone on her nightstand and moved to the floor-to-ceiling windows. The city sprawled below, lights twinkling like stars brought to earth. Her reflection stared back, determined, calculating, already 3 moves ahead. Whatever evidence Margaret Chen held, this battle was entering a new phase. The Sterlings had made their opening move. Now it was her turn. Dawn broke over the city in shades of amber and rose. Queen arrived at Café Lumière early, choosing a corner booth away from the windows, where only 2 other patrons sat absorbed in their laptops. At precisely 8 o'clock, Margaret Chen entered. 68 years old, she moved with purposeful dignity, silver hair neatly styled, clothing pressed to perfection, habits from decades of service. A weathered leather satchel hung heavy against her slight frame. Queen stood to greet her, noting the straight spine and clear eyes. "Thank you for coming, Mrs. Chen." "Margaret, please." She sat down, resting protective hands on the satchel. "After what I saw last night, I couldn't stay silent anymore. That boy, just like his father at that age. Same cruel smile, same certainty rules don't apply." She opened the satchel and withdrew a stack of leather-bound journals. "I started keeping records my first week. The way they spoke to staff, especially people of color. I knew I needed proof. Nobody would believe it otherwise." The journals dated from 1999 to 2024. 25 years of daily logs. Every racist comment, every firing without cause, every harassment complaint buried. Queen opened the first one. Margaret's handwriting was precise, each entry marked with time, date, and location. The very first page documented Harrison Sterling Sr. berating a Filipino groundskeeper until he quit. Margaret removed a small digital recorder. 10 years ago, I started carrying this." She pressed play. Harrison Jr.'s voice filled their corner, discussing how to force out a black executive who'd discovered accounting irregularities. "Plant something in his office? Everyone knows those people can't be trusted with money anyway." Queen's jaw tightened. "How many recordings?" "Hundreds, but that's not all." A manila envelope appeared, photographs from private parties, board meetings, family gatherings, a pattern of behavior across decades. Photos of Max as a young child being encouraged to mock domestic staff, his parents applauding his cruelty like party tricks. Then Margaret produced a thick folder, internal memos and financial documents spread across the table. They've been embezzling from their own company for years. That $650 million deal with you, they needed it to cover hundreds of millions in missing funds before the next audit. Queen studied the papers, spotting careful manipulation of numbers. Margaret explained Harrison Jr.'s gambling addiction, Victoria's shopping compulsion, private jets, hidden properties, bribes to keep other scandals quiet. More documents proved the Sterlings had destroyed evidence in lawsuits, forged signatures on settlements, paid off judges. Margaret had photographed everything, recorded every conversation. "Why now?" Queen asked gently. "After keeping this for so long," Margaret's hands trembled slightly. "My granddaughter sent me that video last night, watching you stand there, dripping with wine while they laughed. I saw myself 30 years ago, staying quiet while they hurt people, staying quiet to keep my job, protect my family, but seeing you refuse to break, it woke something in me. I'm too old now to fear their retaliation." Queen reached across the table, covering Margaret's weathered hands. "They'll try to discredit you, paint you as a disgruntled employee. Let them try. Every document is dated. Every photo has metadata. Every recording is time-stamped. I knew someday someone would need to expose them. I made sure everything would hold up in court." Afternoon light filled the cafe as they reviewed the evidence. Margaret's documentation was forensic in detail. Dates, times, witnesses, consequences. She'd tracked employees forced out, documented their struggles after Sterling blacklisting. "They destroy lives for sport," Margaret said, showing a photo of 6-year-old Max throwing food at a maid while his parents applauded. "They raise their children to think cruelty is their birthright." Queen processed the magnitude. This wasn't just a corporate fight. This was evidence of criminal behavior. "I'll protect you," Queen promised, meeting Margaret's gaze. "We'll do this right. Every document verified, every recording authenticated. Then we bring it all to light, not just for what they did to me, but everyone they've hurt." Margaret nodded, relief visible. It's time someone showed them they're not above the law. That money can't buy them out of everything. Afternoon light filtered through the glass walls of Apex's conference room. Devin paced, scrolling through social media reactions, while Marisol Trent, chief legal counsel, sorted through Margaret's evidence with the precision of a surgeon. Sharp as obsidian, she held up a financial document. "The scope is staggering. Tax fraud, embezzlement, witness tampering, criminal enterprise masquerading as dynasty." Devin paused. "Public's still on our side. Video hit 30 million views." Corporate watchdog groups are calling for investigations. Every device in the room chimed simultaneously. Breaking news alert. Devin's face went grim. Harrison just filed a lawsuit. Defamation and breach of contract. He's calling Queen emotionally unstable, claiming she manufactured the racial incident to void a binding agreement. The wall screens flickered to life. Harrison stood on courthouse steps in a somber, tailored suit, his practiced concern almost believable. Ms. Morrison's shocking behavior has forced us to take legal action. Her unfounded accusations and erratic decision-making have already cost shareholders millions. We tried to handle this privately, but her continued instability leaves us no choice. Bastard, Devin muttered. He's reframing the entire narrative. The screens split. Paid commentators debated Queen's mental state, one suggesting anger management issues, another questioning if she was qualified to run a major corporation, a third mentioning previous incidents without specifying, implying without evidence. Every racist dog whistle in the book, Marisol growled. Angry black woman stereotype, implications of incompetence. Phones began ringing, partners wanting explanations, board members demanding meetings, journalists seeking comments. "Get everyone in here," Queen ordered. "Full executive team, now." Within 30 minutes, Apex's senior leadership filled the room, some worried, others angry, all fiercely loyal. "The Sterlings just declared war," Queen began. "They're betting they can bury truth under lawsuits and character assassination. They think money and connections make them untouchable." She gestured to Margaret's evidence. "They're wrong." CFO James Martinez raised his hand. Already seeing market impact, 3 major partners requested emergency meetings, stock down 12%. And dropping, Sarah Chen, head of operations, added, Devin projected financial models. "We can weather a 20% drop. Anything more affects project timelines." "Then we don't wait," Queen said. "Marisol, how fast can we verify Margaret's evidence?" "I've got 3 teams working. Initial assessment. Everything's authentic. Recordings clean. Paper trail solid. Give me 48 hours for a triple check." Queen outlined their counter strategy. Release evidence systematically, build an irrefutable case, protect Margaret, every claim backed by multiple sources. They think they can silence us with legal threats and media manipulation, but truth doesn't need spin. It just needs sunlight. Someone started clapping. Soon the whole room joined. The spontaneous solidarity made Queen's throat tight. The meeting continued past midnight, teams coordinating responses, securing data, upgrading security protocols, accelerating legal preparations. Through it all, Queen remained focused, directing resources with surgical precision. Close to 1 a.m., she returned to her penthouse. The city lights sparkled below floor-to-ceiling windows. She changed into silk pajamas, tried to unwind, but her mind kept racing through scenarios. 2 a.m. Still awake, staring at the ceiling. The whir of helicopter blades cut through the night. News crews circling, hoping to catch something useful. Searchlights occasionally swept past her windows, casting shadows that danced across the walls. She grabbed her phone, checked the latest updates. More attacks, more planted stories, more lies. The Sterlings were mobilizing every resource, calling in every favor, determined to destroy her before she could expose them. The helicopters grew louder, their blades chopping darkness into rhythm. Queen watched the lights dance across her ceiling, remembering Margaret's words about staying quiet. But she wasn't staying quiet, not backing down. "Let them circle," she thought. "Let them watch. Truth is coming. All their money can't stop it." The helicopters continued their relentless orbit, a mechanical heartbeat filling the night. Queen finally closed her eyes, but she didn't sleep. Morning arrived without mercy. Queen reached the office early, dark circles visible despite makeup. Devin was waiting, his expression grave. "You need to see what they just released." Every channel showed Max Sterling beside Mitchell Grant, tears streaming down his face. The designer suit made him look younger, more innocent. "I was so scared," Max sobbed. "She cornered me backstage before the gala started. Said if my family didn't give her company what she wanted, she'd destroy us." Mitchell leaned forward. "That must have been terrifying. You're just a child." "I didn't know what to do. She was so aggressive. That's why I acted out." I was scared, trying to protect myself. The camera cut to Victoria, holding Max's hand, her earlier hysteria replaced by cold composure. No child should feel threatened by a CEO throwing a temper tantrum over business negotiations. Harrison appeared, looking somber. We didn't want to release this footage. We hoped to protect everyone involved. But given the vicious attacks on our family's reputation, the public deserves to see the truth. The screen switched to grainy security footage, a figure appearing to be Queen, approaching Max in a dim hallway, body language aggressive, finger jabbing toward his chest. Max cowered against the wall. The timestamp matched the gala date. Our security team enhanced the audio. A distorted voice played, "Teach you what happens, mess with me, your whole family." Queen's stomach lurched. She'd never spoken to Max before the wine incident, never even seen him backstage. The footage was completely fabricated, but it looked convincing. Her phone exploded with notifications. Social media split down the middle. Queen Threat's kid was trending. Titanium Solutions just suspended all contracts, Devin said grimly. Without Titanium Solutions, their biggest client, Apex would lose millions per quarter. Marisol called moments later. Board's calling an emergency session. They're scheduling a vote on your leadership position. Outside her building, reporters swarmed. News vans multiplied. The security system chimed. Cameras showed people gathering in the back alley. Someone threw something at the wall. "Ms. Morrison, step away from the windows," the security guard said through the intercom. "Can't guarantee your safety if you remain visible." The interview was still playing. Max cried harder. "I just want her to leave my family alone. We never did anything to her." Victoria stroked his hair, tears glistening. First she tried to intimidate a child, then fabricated horrible lies about our company. She's clearly unstable and unfit to run a corporation. Queen's personal phone buzzed. A text from her mother. "Baby, are you okay? Please tell me you're safe." Before she could respond, crash! Breaking glass. Shouts from security. Red and blue police lights strobed through the windows. "Ma'am, someone broke through the perimeter. Need to move you to the panic room now." They guided her downstairs. Passing the front door, she saw spray-painted racial slurs and dripping red. Vicious, hateful words. Police were finally moving forward, but only to protect media crews from her security team. No one was arresting vandals. No one was stopping photographers from documenting her defaced home. Her phone buzzed with news alerts. Apex CEO accused of threatening minor. Morrison empire built on intimidation? Board to vote on Morrison's future. Inside the panic room, multiple screens showed security feeds. Strangers trampling her gardens, destroying her property, debating her character on live TV. The falsified video played on repeat, getting grainier with each share, lies spreading faster than truth ever could. The private line rang. The board chairman's voice was formal. "Queen, given these serious allegations, we've scheduled an emergency vote for tomorrow morning regarding your position as CEO. I suggest you bring legal representation." She ended the call without responding. Every screen showed Max's tearful face on loop. Doctored footage of a dark figure who wasn't her threatening a child, who'd actually assaulted her. Truth being buried under an avalanche of manufactured evidence and weaponized white tears. Alone in the fortified room, surrounded by screens showing the destruction of everything she'd built, Queen Morrison, the woman who never broke, never backed down, never let them see her crack, finally shattered. She slid down the wall, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Outside, voices shouted for her downfall. Inside, decades of accumulated pain broke through her walls. In the darkness of the panic room, Queen Morrison wept. Queen's eyes snapped open in the dim panic room. Her neck ached from sleeping against the wall. Security feeds still flickered. The scene outside, quieter now. Just determined photographers camping in their cars. Her phone showed 5:47 a.m. She'd managed barely an hour of rest, but adrenaline was already coursing through her veins. The humiliation of breaking down felt distant, replaced by a familiar spark of defiance. A gentle knock on the reinforced door. "Ms. Morrison, Mr. Park and Ms. Chen are here." Queen smoothed her wrinkled clothes, checked her reflection in her phone. Even after everything, she wouldn't let them see her disheveled. "Let them in." Devin burst through first. his suit rumpled from a sleepless night. "I've been analyzing their media strategy, timing, platforms, specific outlets. It's too perfect. They've been planning this for weeks." Margaret entered more slowly, her aged face lined with concern. She carried a thermos and paper bag. "You need to eat something, child. Can't fight on an empty stomach." The familiar scent of Margaret's homemade coffee filled the room. Queen accepted the cup gratefully, the warm ceramic grounding her. "Show me that video again, the raw file, not the broadcast version." Devon pulled up the security footage on the main screen. They watched in silence, the grainy figure meant to be Queen confronting Max in a shadowy hallway. "Frame by frame," Queen commanded. "Slow it down." They analyzed each moment, looking for inconsistencies. Devon marked timestamps. "There." Queen suddenly pressed pause. "Look at the reflection in that door handle." They leaned closer. In the curved brass surface, a faint reflection showed the hallway, empty except for a cleaning cart. "Timestamp," Queen demanded. Devon read 19:042:15. But in the main footage, that's when you're supposedly threatening Max. Queen's eyes lit up. The reflection doesn't match the action. They digitally inserted figures into existing hallway footage, but forgot about reflective surfaces. Margaret smiled grimly. "Sloppy work. They rushed it." "Get me everything about the security system at the venue," Queen told Devon. "Installation dates, maintenance records, hardware specs, and find me the top digital forensics expert who can testify about video manipulation." Her phone buzzed. SEC announcement, formal investigation into both Apex and Sterling Global, citing concerns about corporate conduct and financial disclosures. "They're trying to drown us in regulatory paperwork," Devon growled. "No," Queen said, standing straighter. "They're giving us a chance to present evidence to federal authorities." Everything Margaret documented about financial crimes just became relevant to the official investigation. She moved to the tactical desk, spreading papers. "Board meeting is in 3 hours. They expect me groveling, playing defense." "But you're not going to do that," Margaret said, not a question. "No, I'm going to present a complete counteroffensive strategy. Full disclosure of Margaret's evidence. Technical proof the video was doctored. Documentation of coordinated media manipulation." Her voice grew stronger with each point. They thought they could bury truth under a crying child's testimony. They were wrong. Devon was already typing. "I'll start calling friendly journalists. Need to line up coverage that can't be killed by Sterling influence." "Good," Queen nodded. "But I want something bigger, something they can't edit or spin." She paused, then declared, "I want a live press conference tomorrow morning. No delays, no pre-recorded statements. Just me speaking directly to the world." Margaret touched her arm gently. "They'll try to stop you, might even try to hurt you." "They already tried that," Queen replied, gesturing to security feeds showing her vandalized home. "They threw everything they had at me last night. I broke down, yes, but I got back up. That's what they don't understand about people like us, Margaret. We've been getting back up our whole lives." She turned to Devon. "Get me the biggest venue available, capacity for every major network. No press passes for anyone tied to Sterling Holdings. Full security sweep before we start." Queen squared her shoulders, strength flowing back into her spine. The woman who'd wept alone last night was still there, but not broken, transformed, like steel through fire, harder, sharper, more dangerous. Margaret pressed another coffee into her hands, whispering fiercely, "Make them regret every lie they told." Queen nodded, her resolve hardening into diamond. Tomorrow would be her final stand. Morning sun cast long shadows across the hastily assembled outdoor stage. Camera crews jostled for position, while hundreds of phones pointed upward like digital sunflowers. The air crackled with tension. Queen emerged from the wings, her steps measured and deliberate. She wore a crisp white suit, a deliberate choice. Contrast to the wine-stained ivory gown. Her heels clicked against the wooden platform. Behind her, a massive screen hummed to life. "Good morning," her voice clear and unwavering. 3 days ago, a child poured wine on my head while his parents laughed. Today, I'm going to show you why that moment wasn't just about ruined silk. It was about exposed corruption. She gestured to the screen. The Sterling's doctored security footage began playing. "This video was released yesterday showing what they claim was me threatening Max Sterling. Watch carefully." The footage rolled in slow motion, her laser pointer highlighting key details. Notice the reflection in the brass door handle at timestamp 1942 at 15. While the main footage shows two people in heated confrontation, the reflection shows an empty hallway with only a cleaning cart. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Technical experts in white lab coats stepped forward, presenting credentials before walking the audience through metadata analysis. Dr. Sarah Walsh, digital forensics expert, spoke clearly. The video file contains clear markers of Adobe Premiere Pro editing software. Timestamp data shows manipulation occurring at 3:47 a.m. yesterday morning, hours before its release. Queen clicked to the next slide. But this isn't just about one doctored video. This is about decades of systematic abuse and corruption. She motioned off stage. "Ms. Margaret Chen, please join me." Margaret walked slowly to the podium, carrying her weathered satchel. Her hands shook slightly as she withdrew the stack of notebooks. "For 25 years, I worked in the Sterling household. I documented everything I witnessed." She opened the first journal. March 15th, 1999. Harrison Sterling ordered me to falsify cleaning staff payroll, deducting hours from immigrant workers who couldn't protest. She continued reading entries, each more damning. Recordings played over the speakers, Harrison's voice crystal clear, ordering evidence destroyed, threatening employees, discussing illegal financial schemes. Queen stepped forward again. "What you're hearing isn't just workplace misconduct, it's organized criminal activity." She clicked through financial documents. These records show systematic wage theft exceeding $15 million. These memos detail intentional discrimination in hiring practices. And these emails prove the Sterling's plan to use our partnership to hide embezzled funds. Gasps erupted as she displayed internal correspondence. They never intended to honor our contract. They needed it to cover missing money before the next audit. The evidence mounted methodically. Whistleblower documents showing panicked executive messages, security camera footage of teams shredding documents late into the night. But perhaps most disturbing is their response to being exposed. She pulled up photographs of her vandalized home, racial slurs clearly visible. When they couldn't silence me with lawsuits, they resorted to hate crimes. When they couldn't bully me with financial pressure, they attacked my character with manufactured evidence. She faced the cameras directly. "To my board members watching, this is why I cannot be removed as CEO, not because I cling to power, but because removing me would reward criminal intimidation. It would tell every corrupt dynasty they can maintain control through fear and fabrication." The crowd had grown so silent you could hear wind rustling trees. Phones remained raised, live streaming to millions globally. I stand here today not just as Queen Morrison, CEO of Apex Innovations. I stand as every person who's been told to stay quiet in the face of injustice, every worker who's been cheated, every voice silenced by power and privilege. Margaret stepped forward again, placing the final stack of documents on the podium. "These are copies of everything. All evidence has been provided to relevant authorities." As if on cue, dark vehicles with federal markings began moving in the distance, heading towards Sterling Global headquarters. Queen gathered her materials, standing tall. "The time for backroom deals and buried truths is over. Thank you for your attention. There will be no questions at this time, as all evidence is now part of an active federal investigation." Reporters erupted in shouts and questions. Queen turned away from the podium, helping Margaret collect her journals, supporting the older woman's elbow as they walked off stage together. Reaching the wings, Devin rushed forward. "Board just emailed, postponing removal vote indefinitely. And our stock, it's already climbing." Queen nodded but kept her eyes fixed on the federal vehicles now visible through gaps in the crowd. Margaret squeezed her arm. "They thought they could break you." "They forgot something important," Queen replied, watching the agents approach. "Truth doesn't break. It only gets stronger under pressure." The glass doors of Sterling Global headquarters reflected midday sun like a fortress. Inside, employees pressed against windows, watching federal vehicles surround the building. Agents in dark jackets moved with practiced precision, securing exits, establishing a perimeter. Harrison Sterling stood in his top-floor office, yanking open desk drawers and stuffing papers into his briefcase. Sweat darkened his collar, his hands trembled, dropping documents across Italian marble floors while security cameras captured every desperate movement. He grabbed his phone, barking orders. "Shut everything down! Delete the servers! I don't care about protocols!" "Do it now!" His voice cracked with panic. The elevator dinged repeatedly as agents ascended floor by floor. Harrison loosened his tie, glancing between the private elevator and emergency stairs. Footsteps echoed through the hallway, growing closer. "FBI, stop where you are!" The command boomed through his office door. Harrison slammed the elevator button repeatedly, cursing. The doors didn't open fast enough. He spun toward the emergency exit, burst through the stairwell door, taking steps 2 at a time. His expensive shoes skidded on polished concrete. 6 floors down, he heard doors banging open above. Voices echoed in the stairwell. His breathing grew ragged, briefcase banging against the railing. Somewhere above, an agent radioed his position. Ground floor. Harrison shoved through the emergency exit into blinding sunlight. News cameras swung toward him. Reporters shouted questions. He sprinted across the plaza, briefcase flailing. "Harrison Sterling, freeze!" He ignored the command, running faster, tie whipping behind him. 20 yards to the underground parking garage, 15, 10. The first agent caught him at full sprint, tackling from behind. Harrison's feet left the ground. Time slowed as he fell, his face meeting concrete with a sickening crack. Blood spurted from his nose, staining his white collar crimson. The briefcase burst open, papers scattering across the plaza. Cameras clicked rapidly. News helicopters circled overhead, broadcasting his humiliation live across the nation. Harrison thrashed and cursed, blood dripping down his chin. "Get off me! Do you know who I am?" The agent replied calmly, tightening the cuffs. "Harrison Sterling. You're under arrest for conspiracy, fraud, obstruction of justice, witness tampering." Across town, another team surrounded the Sterling mansion. Victoria stood in the marble foyer in designer sleepwear, watching through floor-to-ceiling windows as federal vehicles rolled up the circular driveway. "They can't do this," she hissed, furiously deleting messages on her phone. "We're Sterlings." The agents knocked once, then broke down the carved mahogany door. Victoria screamed as they entered. She dropped her phone, tried to crush it under her heel. An agent swept it away with a gloved hand. Attempting to destroy evidence. Add that to the charges. Victoria fought as they cuffed her, designer bracelets clinking against steel. "My lawyer will destroy you, all of you." "Your lawyer's under investigation too, Mrs. Sterling." They led her outside where news crews had gathered, her silk robe fluttering in the wind. Cameras documented her walk of shame to the waiting vehicle. At Max's elite academy, counselors and child services sat in the headmaster's office. Max slouched in an oversized leather chair, his usual smirk replaced by genuine fear. "But I didn't do anything wrong. My parents said—" The counselor interrupted gently. "Your parents taught you some very harmful things. We're here to help you understand why they were wrong." Across the city in a quiet cafe, Queen sat with Margaret, legal documents spread between coffee cups. Devin hovered nearby, monitoring news updates on his tablet. "Protection order is ironclad," Queen assured Margaret, sliding papers forward. "You'll have round-the-clock security. And the Whistleblower Fund will ensure you never worry about finances again." Margaret's weathered hands trembled as she signed. "All those years keeping quiet, watching them hurt people. I never thought I'd see justice." "You made it possible," Queen said, squeezing her hand. "Your courage brought down an empire of corruption." Devin rushed over, tablet extended. "You need to see this." Sterling Global stock was in freefall. Trading halted. They watched numbers plummet in real time. Queen's phone buzzed with a message from an inside source. "Board vote unanimous. Entire Sterling family removed from all positions. Company to be restructured under new leadership." Margaret stared at the updates, decades of tension finally leaving her shoulders. "It's really over. Their power is broken," Queen confirmed. "The Sterling dynasty ends today." Outside, sirens wailed as more federal vehicles raced through the city. News helicopters tracked the movement, broadcasting the dismantling of an empire in real time. The sun climbed higher, casting no shadows for the mighty to hide in. No deals, no golden parachutes, no comfortable exits. Only consequences, served cold and public, exactly as deserved. Evening shadows stretched across Apex's glass-walled boardroom. Queen straightened her jacket as 30 pairs of eyes watched her take her seat at the table's head. The emergency board meeting had been called hours after Harrison's arrest, and tension hung thick in the air. Board members shuffled papers nervously. Some had pushed for her removal days ago. Now they avoided her gaze, embarrassed by their wavering loyalty. Queen remained expressionless, her calm presence filling the room. Charles Weber, the lead director, cleared his throat. "Before we begin, I believe we owe you an apology, Queen. Our faith should have been stronger." Queen raised her hand. "What matters isn't the past week's doubt, but the path forward. Apex's mission remains unchanged, innovative technology built on ethical foundations." Devon entered carrying folders, nodding to Margaret, who sat near the wall. Her presence was unusual for a board meeting, but Queen had insisted. The woman who helped save the company deserved to witness its renewal. Weber announced, "First item, vote regarding leadership. All in favor of reaffirming Queen Morrison as CEO, raise your hand." Hands shot up around the table without hesitation. Weber counted quickly and smiled. "Vote is unanimous. Queen Morrison remains Chief Executive Officer with the board's complete confidence." Applause broke out, echoing off the glass walls. Queen accepted with a slight nod, already focused on next steps. "Thank you. Now, let's address partnerships and financial stability." Devon stepped forward, distributing materials. "I have excellent news. Tech Vision Corp., our largest client, has just reinstated their full contract. They cited Morrison's unwavering integrity in the face of corruption as the primary reason." Relief swept through the room. Tech Vision represented nearly 35% of annual revenue. "Additionally," Devon continued, "we've received 23 new partnership offers in the last 6 hours." He displayed logos of major tech and innovation companies. Combined value exceeds $3.2 billion, more than 5 times the canceled Sterling contract. Queen studied each proposal carefully. "Remove NovaCore and Riverside Tech from consideration. Their environmental records don't meet our standards." A board member began. "But NovaCore's offer alone is worth." Queen cut in. "Our integrity isn't for sale. That's what separates us from the Sterlings. We'll partner with companies that share our values, not just our profit goals." Heads nodded around the table. Her unwavering principles had just saved the company. No one would question them now. "There's one more matter," Queen said, standing. She walked to where Margaret sat quietly. "Apex wouldn't be here without Margaret Chen's courage, her dedication to truth, meticulous documentation, her willingness to finally speak out. These brought down decades of corruption." Margaret blushed, trying to wave off the attention. "Therefore, I'm establishing the Margaret Chen Dignity Foundation with an initial $75 million commitment from Apex. It will support employees who expose corporate wrongdoing, ensuring they have legal and financial protection." Tears welled in Margaret's eyes. Board members applauded. Decades of silence transformed into a legacy of justice. Additionally, Margaret will join Apex's Ethics Advisory Board, helping ensure we never stray from our principles. The meeting continued with operational updates. As the sun set outside the windows, Queen reviewed the day's victories. Apex hadn't just survived, it had become a symbol of corporate accountability. The Sterling attack had backfired spectacularly, strengthening everything it meant to destroy. Weber announced a final item. The board proposes an immediate company-wide bonus to thank employees for their loyalty during the crisis. Another unanimous vote. Queen smiled, thinking of the families this would help. Even in triumph, she remembered her roots and the importance of taking care of people. When the meeting concluded, Margaret hugged her tightly. "You didn't just win, you changed things, really changed them." Devon appeared at Queen's side. "The lobby's full of employees. They've been waiting to see you." The elevator doors opened onto the ground floor. The sound hit first. Hundreds clapping, cheering, some wiping tears. The lobby was packed with Apex employees from every department. Security guards and custodians stood alongside engineers and executives. Signs reading, "We stand with Queen," dotted the crowd. Queen felt the full weight of their support. These were the people who mattered, Not corrupt dynasties or power brokers, but honest workers who believed in building something meaningful. A week later, Queen stood in a vacant historic building downtown with Margaret. The former bank headquarters had soaring ceilings and classical columns. "It needs work," Margaret said, running her hand along a dusty banister. "But it has good bones." "Like the best of us," Queen replied. "What do you see when you look at this place?" Margaret paused. "I see possibility. All those years working for families like the Sterlings, I had to use back doors, service entrances. This place has presence, dignity." "Exactly," Queen said, her heels clicking against Margaret.